So this is my Cedrus atlantica, my Atlantic cedar, or Cedrus atlantica glauca, and you can see that there's clearly a blue tinge to the foliage. It's a cultivar called Horstmann's, which I bought off eBay in January 2023 for £44, and I've been styling it since then. So the things that I've done to this are I wired it and tried to bend it. I also changed the planting angle, and I have done quite a lot of pruning on it as well. I absolutely love this tree. It's my favourite tree, and I think it's my favourite bonsai. It's my favourite tree in the wild. There's usually one of these trees in every public garden or like large garden in the UK. You always see a Blue Atlantic Cedar, and you usually always see a Cedar of Lebanon as well, and maybe also a Deodar cedar. It's just finished budding out, so I don't know if you can pick it up, but there's some the kind of foliage on the tips is quite perhaps less blue. It's a limier green, and that's just come out, and it's just so cloudy, I think. So I wired it. There are some wire scars, which is what makes me think wiring trees so tightly perhaps just isn't necessarily a good idea. I'm sure they'll be fine, they're going to come out. And I've got some awesome movement in the top. The elephant in the room is this long bit here, but if we just look at the top, the movement I think is fabulous. There's some nice thickening of this. What I've interestingly achieved is so this is the apex, and there's a lot of foliage in the apex region, and so it's all kind of like equally as vigorous. It all thinks it's the apex, and so it's all receiving quite a lot of growth. And although here it's here it seems to be just a little bit more, but I just think that this is great, and I think this is going to look awesome. But it obviously has to be chopped, because I just can't bend that unless I start doing things like branch splitters, trunk splitters, and there's just no way I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna air layer this. So I've done 2 air layerings. I've done Parotia persica, and I've just today done a dawn redwood. Now this is the stakes are higher on this because I love this tree. And for the other trees, if I killed the top, it didn't matter. But on this tree, it's the top that's the best bit. So if I kill that, it's going to be a real bummer. Where am I going to air layer it from? So that could be the trunk. So then I want the roots here. And then in terms of the lower portion, I think the problem is it's just so long and straight. I almost want the lower portion to terminate here. You almost want to make that sever it there, and then use that. So it's possible to get 3 trees out of this, but the first bit is to go for the prize apical region. So the first branch I cut is going to be the beginning of the rooting zone. So you. Now this I will take a cutting from because they're so precious. This is rooting zone. I wonder if the scar tissue from the wiring will help it with its rooting. So you are in the rooting zone. So I've got 3 points of kind of like, probably like meristematic tissue there that's exposed, plus the scar tissue from the wire, which is really deep. And then I just need to, like, the area where I'm going to peel away the bark. So let's get the bark, let's get these branches off. I wonder if I should be pulling these off in a kind of heel cutting way rather than snipping them. Let's pull them off in a heel cutting way. So what I hope I'm doing is cutting through the bark, then the phloem, then the cambium. Okay? Because the cambium has to have the phloem on one side and the xylem on the other. Because it's the cambium that makes the phloem and the xylem. So it has to have one on one side and one on the other. So what that means is the phloem is severed. So that means sugar or energy cannot transport down past this cut. But the xylem is the other side of the cambium and is more or less intact. So water can continue to flow up via transpiration. So I guess what I don't want to do is cut beyond the cambium and into the xylem, because if I do that, then I damage the tree's ability to transport water via transpiration from the roots to the top of the tree. But it's really difficult to know if you're doing that or not. So I think it's just through trial and error, you get a feel for what is okay to pull off and what isn't. So this is quite hard to get off. So that's my vertical line. Where's my finger? I can't see my finger. That's the vertical line. And inside, you can see the green. So I think the green, I don't know what it is, but I think I want to get down to this creamy white, yellowy colour. Ah, awesome. I'm going to show this So I'm going to see if I can do this without stabbing myself, because I'm zoomed in on the camera. It's difficult to coordinate, but there, can you see? Like it's a noticeable, it's a noticeable layer difference. So that's what I'm going to pull off. And hopefully I'm pulling off the right thing. I think I am. I should credit 3 people with inspiring me to do this. First one is Peter Chan, who I used to hear talking about air layering, and I was like, what the hell is that? I didn't even know it existed as a thing. So this is quite a lot of material that's come off. Super interesting. It's like, I think you won't be able to see it, but there's 2 little holes there. And thereby, on the other side of those holes is where the branches were. How interesting. And then there's a kind of line here, which is an impression from the wire. Oh, look, you can see this is from one of the holes. So that's like the branch. How cool is that? So Peter Chan, who inspired me about everything bonsai, to be honest. And then Josh, I think it's Josh, who is Peter Chan's volunteer, who is the person that showed me how to do an air layering on an Itoegawa juniper at Heron's Bonsai. And he's the one that said, don't be afraid, usually if they go wrong, it's because you haven't taken enough off. So that's why I'm so confident that I've not gone too deep. And then finally, the channel Nili's Bonsai. Nili has successfully done some cedar air layerings, so that makes me feel like this can succeed. Now, I know that he takes a lot of care with his edges, which I'm not going to do because I'll just make it worse. So, here we are. I've got a nice big area, and I think the bigger the area, the better, because all I'm seeing these days is air layerings that are just healed over. So that's quite a long distance to heal. And then here is my root zone with 3 pieces of exposed meristematic tissue, which will hopefully have a good effect, and also some like depressions from wiring, which might have a good effect too. So that now is ready for the sphagnum moss to be added. All right, so I have here everything I need to proceed. So step 1, rooting hormone. See if I can avoid spilling this all over the tree, like I did earlier. I wonder if this rooting hormone is any good, the consumer one. All right, that's that done. So my sphagnum moss is here. So I don't have an empty Akadama bag, but I do have an ASOS bag. So let's get that ready. There. I think that's quite a good job. Now the bottom is not as tight, so let's see if I can just tighten that up. Right, so that's it, and I've got a transparent bag on there, so there's no need to unwrap it. When the roots come, I'll see them. So there we are. Let's see what happens with this.